This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Yeah. This is funny too, because the last time we played y'all, we got away with something like that where they benched Davis Mills for
Kyle
Brandon Allen.
Kyle Allen.
Yes, Kyle Allen. Yes. I remember being like, why they playing the worst quarterback? And all I knew is once I heard that Case Keenum was starting, I was like, yo, he's food. Just don't let Singletary go off and you win this game.
And that's exactly what happened. Which, by the way, that was the primary reason why they end up winning in Tennessee. Look, the defense played really good in Tennessee, but on the offensive side of the ball, I can't remember how many yards Devin Singletary had, but it was well over 100.
Yeah. But now moving in this week, CJ Stroud definitely going to play. So don't have to worry about that one. It's going to be an interesting challenge for CJ too, because when he played the Ravens, that was his first game in the NFL. It's hard to take away much from that, right? Positive or negative, because he's such a different player now than he was week one. Then he had the game where he got concussed against New York, right? Where it was his worst game, but he also got knocked out in the middle of it. So we don't know how he would have finished that game. The Browns game right here, what games has he played so far this season do you think prepared him for this game versus the Browns? And what do you worry about with CJ, how he likes to play versus him going up against somebody like Myles Garrett on that other side, and that defensive line the Cleveland Browns has been so dominant this year?
I look at three games that comes to mind because everybody know that the Cleveland Browns, they have one of, if not the best defense in the league. But there's three games that comes to mind, especially defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. There's three games that comes to mind: the victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the victory against the New Orleans Saints. Why am I pointing those three games out? Going into all three of those games, starting with Pittsburgh, I believe that was the first one, if I'm not mistaken. Everybody was kind of concerned with CJ. At this time, this is week 4. CJ is starting to show some flashes. The week prior, you went into Jacksonville, had at the time your best career game. So everybody was concerned, okay, this is a rookie quarterback going up against Mike Tomlin, one of the all-time best defensive-minded coaches.
Oh, and I bet them Steelers fans hit you with Mark Tomlin's record versus rookie quarterbacks. Like this.
Oh, did they? What? That's not even a question. CJ Stroud go out there, and I believe he throws for 306, if I'm not mistaken, and got the victory. The next thing you know, you go up against Todd Bowles. Before that, you go up against the New Orleans Saints and then Allen. You go out there, another great defensive-minded coach, one of the best defensive-minded coaches over the last, let's say, 10 years or so. He goes out there and put on the show against the New Orleans Saints. You get the victory. Then the last one, okay, maybe the first two was lucky. Now you got Todd Bowles, who has been once again, one of the best defensive-minded coaches of the last 10 years. He goes out there, not only do he put on a show, but he leads the Houston Texans to a comeback victory and finished the game with 470 yards. In those three games against Mike Tomlin, Todd Bowles, and Dennis Allen, CJ Stroud threw for a combined average of 325 yards. I say all that just to say, look, CJ is special. You guys are definitely going to see come Saturday afternoon. But it's one of those situations where I don't want to say that CJ isn't going to struggle against Cleveland, because once again, arguably, if not the best defense in the league, but you also got, once again, one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the game and defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. But CJ has a knack about him that he is definitely going to find a way to be successful, especially inside NRG Stadium. And the one thing that I've noticed about CJ, dating all the way back to rookie minicamp, and a lot of people are wondering, how in the world did he put together one of the most impressive first seasons by a rookie quarterback? One of my favorite attributes about CJ is the fact that he has been able to learn from all of his mistakes, dating all the way back to rookie minicamp, and you rarely see him make the same mistake twice. That is something that Coach DeMeco Ryans has talked about. That is something that offensive coordinator Bobby Sloyd has raved about. Quarterback coach Gerard Johnson has raved about. Players have raved about. He goes out there and make a mistake. He rarely makes that same mistakes again.
Mm-hmm.
Quick example. I remember in training camp. This is about week 2, week 3 of training camp. CJ had a terrible week throwing interceptions left and right. It was so bad to the point a lot of people was questioning whether or not he should start the season on the bench, learn the game from afar, and just let Davis Mills take the reins. Let's say for the first 5 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Their very first preseason game, he goes out there and I believe he threw one interception. I can't
he threw a pick six to Jalen Mills, I believe, against the
That's
Patriots.
exactly what it was on the very first offensive drive that he plays, and it might have been his only one. After the game, CJ said he has to learn how to take care of the ball. He harped on that for the entire week. The young man finished his rookie regular season with, I think, a total of 5, maybe 6 interceptions. That says a lot about that young man. And another quick example that I could give, midway through the season, CJ was getting hit a lot. A lot of people wanted to blame the offensive line. I was one of the people who was evaluating CJ and saying, look, I know the offensive line isn't that great, but he's holding on to the ball way too long. A lot of the hits could have been avoidable. CJ goes down with the concussion, missed 2 games, blah, 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 blah. I asked CJ Stroud, I said, hey, when you were away from the game, watching it on TV, doing your game study and whatnot, were there little nuances that you saw in the game that you can take and actually improve your game moving forward? He said, yeah. The one thing that I said to myself, I said, okay, I want to see if he's going to be able to get rid of the ball a lot quicker. These last 2 games that he played, the young man got rid of the ball a lot quicker. So, you know, once again, I understand it. I get it, man. Cleveland, I think, is going to provide the biggest and toughest challenge to him as of right now. But due to the consistent growth that I have seen from him, once again, ever since the start of rookie minicamp, and you're looking at what? Mid-May at this point, that young man is definitely going to find a way to, if not lead the Texans to a victory, he's going to make sure that they stay in it.
Absolutely. I expect nothing less from him. He's played such good football going down, but it's not just CJ that joined the team this year, right? Will Anderson picked side by side, which shout out to, I got into arguments with people about about people saying that was like a terrible decision, like off rip. I'm like, well, because as a Browns fan, I'm always aware of like, at sometimes the draft picks, having all the draft picks can only matter so much if you don't have the players. And if you watch somebody else have the players and you don't, you're going to be upset in the long run. I'm like, hey, if they think Will Anderson's that guy, if they think CJ Stroud's that guy, if they want to make sure they get them both and they're right, nobody cares about those draft picks. When people are like, oh, you're being PR for Houston and all this stuff. And I was like, we can't evaluate a draft day trade day one and be like, that's it. It's a bad trade. Like it's not a draft trade. But Will stood in there, DeMeco. And here's when I had a feeling that the Texans felt like they were a much better team than what most people would assume. Because people think the Texans about to get the #1 overall pick next year. They're like, oh, they're going to get
I never believed that. I never believed that. But I did have them at 6 wins, I must say.
Yeah. But I knew they thought they were much better than they thought when they traded their own pick in that trade, where they were like, yeah, we're gonna bet on ourselves, and if they do win this game, they will actually win that bet because they would have a higher pick than what the Browns would. So they're kind of playing for validation in a way too this week. So to me, that's when I was like, I think they feel like they're a lot closer than what people think right now, or at least they got a different mindset in there. What has been like the #1 difference you have seen in them? I guess the last thing I'm gonna ask before we head out is what's been the number one difference that those three guys have brought to this Texas locker room? Because I remember talking to you last year before that Texas game. You're like, ain't nobody at the stadium. There's no energy. Like, he's like, don't even worry. There's not going to be people there to boo Deshaun Watson.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was about a year ago. And everything that I said a year ago, it's the complete 180 this year, man. You know, those three guys, and it's more than just those three guys. You know, it's a lot of players, a lot of the coaching, and even Nick Caserio himself, man. You know, what they done throughout this offseason. And after the offseason, just building and developing and all this other good stuff, man. It's part of the reason why they're sitting here today. But those three guys in particular, I already told you guys how good CJ Stroud is, man. And he is definitely a franchise quarterback. And at this stage, I know it's still early, but I mean, can you name 10? Can you even name 5 quarterbacks that has played better ball than him this season alone? I know that might sound crazy saying it for a rookie quarterback, but this young man is special. But, you know, when you take a look at Will Anderson Jr., he has had the same effect on the Texans defense, just like what Will Anderson, just like what how CJ Stroud has had that same effect on the offense. I know there was one part in the season, people was complaining because Will Anderson only had like 1 or 2 sacks on the season. But look, his impact on the defense, especially the defensive front, said a lot. I believe midway through the season, during that time where he had like 1, maybe 2 sacks, he was, I think, 4th in the league in double teams because he was 4th in the league in creating pressures at the time. And at the time, the only people that was getting double team more than him was Myles Garrett, of course, Nick Bosa, and Michael Parsons. So I'm like, you are a rookie in the company with those guys. Look, last year, I think one of the things that I was making fun of was the fact that the Texans was terrible at stopping the run. Last year, they gave up an average of 170 yards on the ground. You add Will Anderson Jr. as one of your prime defensive anchors. This year, they finished somewhere in the ballpark of top 5 at stopping the run. I think as of right now, they end up finishing the regular season giving up only, I think, 98 yards on the ground. The only running back that rushed for 100 yards or more against them was Jonathan Taylor, and that came in a do-or-die situation on the very last day of the regular season for the Indianapolis Colts. That shows you the type of impact that Will Anderson Jr. has had. By the way, the last 2 games he has played hurt. I'm under the impression 50% of Will Anderson Jr. is definitely better than not having him at all, because we didn't have him against the Cleveland Browns on Christmas Eve, and you saw how comfortable Joe Flacco was in that pocket and finishing the day. What was it, like 380 or whatever? But
yeah, like 395, I think.
I know it was a stupid amount of numbers, but at the end of the day, man, the biggest change for this organization has been Coach DeMeco Ryans. This is a guy who has brought stability, respectability, accountability. He has literally revamped and brought so much to this organization that was missing. Because Quincy, you guys saw how bad it was. You know, ever since the Texans blew that 24-0 lead against Kansas City, this organization was a laughingstock, you know, and you go through not 1, but 2 head coaches. You end up firing 3 because right after that, you end up firing Bill O'Brien, and it was just a mess. And even throughout the season, where you could see Coach DeMeco Ryans' impact, he gave those players inside the locker room the hope and belief that they can actually be something special. Even like throughout the season where we have to sign guys, i.e. T.R. Tart, part of the reason why he was excited that the Texans claimed him off of waivers was due to he gets an opportunity to play under Coach DeMeco Ryans. And that, look, I think the winner of this game is definitely going to take home Coach of the Year, by the way. But Coach Kevin Stefanski has done a great job in Cleveland, given everything that you guys have had going on down there. But you cannot say enough of how much Coach DeMeco Ryans has changed his organization. And the best part about it is this is still his first season as head coach of the Houston Texans.
Definitely with Coty. Always love to have you on here, especially when we have an excuse to talk about Browns versus Houston. Hopefully we get this matchup more and more as both teams seem to be in that direction as playoff contenders for the next few years. So we'll probably get this more and more often. Where can everybody check you out? I know you do beat report for the Texans. You also do it for the Rockets. He's a busy man. Let him know where to find you, man.
You could follow me on all your social media platforms at Coty Davis _24. Once again, it's Coty, COTY DAVIS _24. You could follow Locked On Texans on all your favorite podcast streaming services, including YouTube. By the way, Quincy, the number one thing that I hate most about this game, Deshaun Watson is not going to play. I just wish there was a way that Deshaun can suit up, man. Because I would love to have Deshaun versus CJ inside NRG Stadium, man.
Well, you're going if he comes back and plays well enough next year, you probably will get some version of that in the playoffs. So hopefully
I need it.
You get it.
We need it.
You know, it's been funny. He's kind of ducked it. Like he's kind of ducked the big game against it, right?
Yes,
he got hurt at the end of this season. Last year he was here, but like nobody cared. And he played awful in that game. They still won. So yeah, it's been one that he's kind of ducked for a while. So maybe this is for the good of the moment, so that he's ready and doesn't have any excuses and says that he's back finally whenever, if he can stay healthy. Because you talked about the thing with CJ avoiding hits. I was like, man, Deshaun better learn, dog. Like he be taking them hits still. Like
that's a doggone shame.
Yeah,
that's something he was doing here in Houston too much.
Because everybody was like, oh, these sacks are on this guy. I'm like, nah, this Deshaun gotta get rid of that thing, man. Or he gotta let the dream die. Right? That's sometimes you gotta let the dream die. Like you just throw that 50-50 ball up and just see what happens, or you just get it out of bounds and let the dream die. And sometimes he'd be like, nah, I'm gonna just try to toss it like I'm 22 again. And you're not. So we'll see.
But there was moments where he did hold on to the ball, man, and he was able to create something out of nothing. And it was like, bro, this is the best quarterback that we ever watched, But man, I just wish he was playing, man. That's the only thing we missing, man.
I could have look at Cleveland. We always joked about this, like getting LeBron in the playoffs, but obviously that never happened because the Cavs never made the playoffs without LeBron between runs. But it feels like these moments are too perfect to happen. So they like the universe makes you duck him a little bit. They're like, we're not about to give you that. We're not about to give you that. Like, you think we about to give you CJ versus Deshaun? Like
in the playoffs? Inside NRG Stadium? Man, bro, I just can't. Like, the atmosphere is going to be crazy enough, but I just can't fathom what that matchup would have done. But like you say, Quincy, the way things looking, maybe it might happen again. Who knows?
Well, maybe both teams finish in first place, have to play in the regular season. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. Now, the unfortunate part for Houston fans is that you might have missed your chance to get this in NRG because we've already played the home. We finished in last place like y'all did game. So the next one's going to be in Cleveland.
Yeah, and then
the next rotation of AFC West, y'all would be in Cleveland for that one. So
they got two coming up.
Look, the universe ain't want it to happen, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be like 8 years till we play a game in Houston unless y'all win the division and we finish in like the 5 or 6 seed. So maybe one day we'll see it. But Coty, thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate the insight. Make sure y'all go check them out. Everybody have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.